Well, welcome back to another edition of the Military Historian. And as promised, I have my brother Jim on the line. And he served over in the Middle East, and he has a story to tell us. And I'm actually going to ask him about what he did and what the role of the Navy was in the military. Hello, Jim.
Hey, how you doing, brother?
How you doing? How you feeling today?
Good.
Good. So basically, I wanted to kind of go through the time frame. You served in the 90s over in the Middle East when we had our little run-in with Saddam at that particular time, correct?
Correct. So I was in just after Desert Storm. So I went to boot camp in September of 92, arrived at my squadron out in San Diego in 93, in the spring of 93, after my A school. And I was with VF-31 Tomcatters at a fighter town USA, and we deployed on the Carl Vinson, which is CVN-70. It's an aircraft carrier.
So let me ask you something. Now, this is a full-blown carrier, correct? Like it's essentially a floating city, right?
Yeah, so I believe the numbers correctly, 5,100 personnel on that ship. And then we also deployed with a carrier battle group, which usually had a cruiser, submarine, usually guided missile cruisers, several of support ships. It was pretty big.
So basically, I was in the Army over there, and my role is completely different from yours, obviously. I was ground-based. What exactly were every branch of service has its own support system. It's called essentially MEDAL, Mission Essential Task List. What was your MEDAL, your job, and what were you to do, or the Vincent? What was the Vincent supposed to do, the aircraft carrier Vincent supposed to do?
Well, so U.S. aircraft carrier basically is essentially a floating military air base. We have our own Air Force. In fact, we are the second largest Air Force basically in the world. So we can forward deploy anywhere near any coast. When I was in, we had F-14s, A-6s, F-18s, S-3B Vikings, E-2C Hawkeyes. So we could dominate the airspace along the coast, and which then provided support for Marine assets. So if they could go with their military expedition units.
Right. The Marines use Marine expeditionary units. Am I correct?
Correct. So they would deploy, like they would have at the time when I was in, the Marines still operated tanks. So they had M1A1s. So they would have landing ships tanks, landing ships helicopters. They would deploy with LCACs, which are the landing craft, air cushioned. It's basic amphibious operations.
So we'll draw those up, and we'll show the audience what those are, the Hellcats, and we'll go ahead and put those up for the audience. Kimber, if you could do that for me. When you are out there in the ocean, and particularly when you're out there, that area is what's assigned to you, and all of the security for that is designed to protect the forward operational bases, correct?
Well, so we're basically self-sufficient. When it comes to the Navy, when we deploy, so your typical air squadron, when I was in, obviously, we had different aircraft. So I was with an F-14 squadron. So the F-14 was a fleet defense aircraft, fighter interceptor. So it hauled the AN-54 Phoenix, which could shoot pretty long distances. So it's supporting the defense, like take out cruise missiles, bombers, things of that nature. Obviously, the mission changed after I got out. So now the Navy is operating FA-18 Super Hornets, and they're operating F-35s, which have taken over the role of the fleet defense and things of that nature in bombing. So they compile strike packages, so you could have a certain number of aircrafts get sent in to bomb a target. So you'd have a package just like the Air Force would do, except, the Air Force is on land. So we get to kind of take our airport with us.
Right. Now, when you're talking about the F-14s, you're speaking about, and this is when fans who watch Maverick, they talk about Gen 4 and Gen 5 aircraft. Would you consider the F-14 back then a Gen 4 aircraft, a level Gen 4?
Yeah, so we had the F-14 Delta, so 4.25 maybe. So better avionics, better engines than the F-14A.
All right.
Yeah, that aircraft was retired in 2006. So, like I said, that's almost 20 years now since it's the last flight. So
it'd be old and obsolete essentially at this point.
Yeah, the first, I believe the first flight of the F-14 was 1973.
Yes, yeah, we've definitely moved on since then. Now, you had a chance to be around a lot of these aircrafts and a lot of this very advanced equipment. Do you think that any nation in the world, other than the three that I can think of, which would be China and Russia, really have anything comparable to what we have?
As far as aircraft carriers, China's catching up. Russia never, ever really could hold a candle to anything we could do maritime-wise. They had very capable aircraft and everything else, but they couldn't forward deploy like we could with the Navy. China's just starting now. They're actually starting to roll out more carriers. So, but one thing China did do, though, is they've kind of changed their mission profile with their hypersonic missiles. So basically they went to an aerial denial. So all they have to do is push the bubble out far enough that the carriers cannot get inside the bubble, and the planes that we currently have don't have the fuel capacity to actually get inland. So that's the next phase now, is the race to get, longer leg aircraft and our own hypersonic missiles up to speed so we can then shrink the bubble.
Right, and I understand why they did that bubble, because there's an old saying that there are three countries that are virtually impossible to invade: Russia, America, and China. China's actually taken that to a whole other level, particularly in the South China Sea, because they've had their eye on Taiwan for many, many years, and the best thing they can do is push that bubble out as far as they can and make our aircraft really ineffective past a certain point. And that certain point is absolutely the mainland China. We would suffer severe casualties if we tried to go in any further than that. Am I correct?
Yeah, so another thing they've done is they've also done this campaign where they've been basically annexing islands, building them up, and putting military bases on them. Essentially what they are is bullet sponges. They're just missile sponges, so they can absorb as much damage from our missile capacity as they can. So we still would run out, basically, by the time we got inside to where we could start attacking mainland China. And not only that, I mean, as you said, there would really be no invasion of China. Basically, what you'd have to do is you'd have to reduce everything on the coast as far as military capacity on the coast in China, and then you would just park off there and
isolate them, basically. Yeah, that's about all you could do.
And embargo them. That'd be the only thing you could really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would definitely pay a heavy price. But that's the thing, is the capabilities, we don't really know what our capabilities actually are. I mean, considering I've been out for 30 years now, they're still well above what China has, and they're not even telling us some of the stuff we do have.
I agree with you. And from an aeronautical perspective, we may be considerably far more advanced than anybody in the world. And AI is going to play, and correct me if I'm wrong in this, AI is going to play a huge factor in what's about to happen, because if we can integrate all of our military systems, all of our military computer systems, everything we do into AI, ground forces, naval forces, air forces, anything that we have almost instantaneous decision-making and planning And that's why AI is being instituted into everything that we have from a military perspective. Is that correct?
Yeah, but see, it's even more dynamic than that, though, because, for example, what AI is going to allow you to do is, especially in industrial capacity, you are going to be able to start doing really wild, crazy things with material science, different capacities, radar configurations. The advancement that's going to be happening in the industrial space, and then as it translates over into the military space. Yeah, so you just get down to AI is controlling the battle space. I don't know if it'll necessarily be as autonomous as the Terminator series, basically.
I think they're hoping it will be. Take human decision making out of it, but which I don't think you can ever fully do.
I don't think you'll ever take human beings out of the kill chain. You have to have a human being in the kill chain making the final ultimate decision. I mean, the AI will give you all the variables and give you the probabilities of success or failure, but it's still going to take the human being making the final call to actually execute the order.
I agree with you. And here's the other thing that I think it's really incredible. President Trump talked about a thing called the Golden Dome, which is just another type of aerial protection system that Israel actually has something like that as well. And I've seen it, and I've seen it over in Iraq. They're very effective. I've actually been the recipient of some of their protection. So I can honestly say that if he pulls that off, along with the AI, we and China and probably Russia are going to remain the superpowers militarily for probably decades to come. Would that be a good assumption?
Well, I would kind of disagree about Russia. The only thing that makes Russia a superpower right now is nuclear weapons and manpower. They're a gas station with nukes. They don't really have any ability to project power.
No, and they don't do that very well, and they never have done that very well.
No. Look at Ukraine. They've been bogged down in Ukraine, going to be going on 3 years in February. And, they don't know how to fight a war like we do. We do everything with logistics. They don't do that. They just throw bodies at it. China will be the actual real problem because they will be dominating the Pacific sphere of influence, especially the West Pacific and the Indian Ocean. And that's where the next battle space is going to be. In fact, if there was going to be a flashpoint, it would be the Straits of Malacca with India, Indonesia, and Vietnam, and that Southeast Asian region.
And that's their backyard, which makes it even more dangerous for us. So, I mean, I agree with you. I got a question for you. If you had to modulize what each branch of service does and where it fits into the total war picture, and we are now the Department of War. Let's start with the Army. What, in a short sentence or two, is the Army's function in a war?
Well, the Army's function, I think, is to capture and hold territory.
Yes,
because
I agree.
You can drop as many warheads on foreheads as you want, but it still takes people on the ground to hold territory.
Boots on the ground has to be.
Yep. So they are the large force. They're the force that actually gets to occupy and control an area.
Okay.
Whereas the Marines are more go in, hit an area hard, and then the Army comes in and occupies the space.
Although we did go in during the initial Gulf War, and we actually did drive our tanks right into Baghdad. So, I mean, we actually did go in with the Marines and everybody else. So we...
Oh, there's still no doubt. There's still no doubt that the Army, especially with the armored divisions, they are still...
An infantry division.
Yeah, they're still a tip of the spear.
Yeah, and there's the first, I think it's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Infantry Division. So they are there. And then you have the cavalry. Then you also have the paratroopers, and we have all of that. Now, the Navy. Where does the Navy fit in the total concept of war?
So the Navy fits in to basically control the seas. So basically, you want to keep the lanes of commerce open, or deny commerce. So you can actually control a nation by shutting down their access to the ocean for trade.
Yep.
Not only that, we can also project power. I mean, you can park a carrier.
You can park a carrier 20 miles off or 100 miles off the coast, and they're still viable.
And you can control, thousands of miles of airspace well into a country. I mean, imagine the thing is, if you parked an aircraft carrier off San Clemente Island, you could basically dominate the skies from Northern California, Southern California, all the way into Nevada.
Yes, you're right. Okay, now, Air Force. Where do they fit in all this?
So the Air Force, they have multiple roles, just like the Navy does too. I mean, the Navy does have a nuclear force as well. But as far as missile force, that would be the Air Force. So if you got into the ballistic missile front, the Air Force would be running that. Heavy bombers, so B-52s, B-2s, B-21 Sky Raiders.
Yep, which we just recently used in the 12-day war, which I intend to do a show on that because they were essential for delivering the bunker busters that only we had.
Correct. So, and also they also do, they do fighter support. So they have F-22s, F-15s, F-16s, F-35s.
And the logistics proportion of the Air Force is essential for almost everybody. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, they run the airlift operations.
Yep. So that leaves only the Marines and the Merchant Marines. Those two. I mean, one is, even though they have the same name, beginning and end, they are completely different. So what are the Marines and what are the Merchant Marines, and how do they fit into the whole scheme?
So kind of getting back to the Air Force, where they do the airlift command, Merchant Marines with the sea lift command.
Yep.
So they get rolled into the Navy during time of war, just as like the Coast Guard does. As far as the Marines, so the Marines are generally broken up into Marine expeditionary units. So they would deploy on U.S. Navy ships, and we would provide them with basically a taxi ride into the beach for amphibious operations.
Yeah, a taxi ride you'll never forget.
Or Uber.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened when we invaded Kuwait City. We showed them the right hand, and we showed them the left hand, and the right hand invaded, took over the airport, and then that was one of the things, misinformation, misdirection that involved the Navy. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
So you spent how many years in the Navy?
4 years.
Well, I want to thank you for your service, and I'm very proud of you. I was at your graduation, and I can only say that I've been proud of you ever since. And for the people who don't know who he is, this is my brother James Shellenberger, one of the greatest guys I think you'll ever meet. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the final thought. And the final thought is this. What is the one phrase that you would use to encapsulate life and how you describe life? I'll give you an example. My phrase is, a man who serves only himself serves no one of consequence. That's a layered phrase. What phrase would you throw out?
Here I am, Lord. That's for me. God gets to use me however he wants to use me. So, family, that's what's important.
Always. We got Mom, we got you. We lost Dad a few years ago, but we still got all the family left. So I appreciate you. And I want to thank you for coming on, the military historian. Man, you were just full of knowledge today, and I really do appreciate that. You actually broke things down in a very simple manner for the audience to hear, and that's essential. And I want to thank you for that. Anything you want to say? A last closing statement?
Well, I appreciate you, brother. You have a good night, and I'll call you later.
Call me later. Like and follow. Thank you very much, James Shellenberger. Have a good night.
You too, bro.
Easy. Well, that was my brother, James Shellenberger. who served in the Navy, and I'm very proud of him, as you can probably figure. And I wanted to kind of get a perspective. Him and I spent a lot of time on the phone, and we tried to solve the world's problems within one 60-minute phone call. We've never accomplished that, but it is something that we strive to do. So he keeps me on my toes, and I love asking him questions. He's very technically gifted. He understands the basic roles of the military quite well. So him and I spend a lot of time talking about what we think is going to happen, what will happen. And as you can see, he's pretty up on it. Well, if you like this and you actually want to hear more of this and more basic information broken down on the Military Historian channel, hit that like button and share. Thank you for joining me. I know you have a lot of other places you could be, but thank you for being here with us, the Military Historian. Peace out.